Hi, everyone. Welcome. I wanted to see how long, if I stood here quietly, how long it would take. Took 47 seconds. Very good. I don't know if you all know, is my mic on? Can you hear me okay? Okay. I don't know if you all know this, but I have a collection of selfies of different business leaders and interesting characters from across the state. So, and every PubTalk. My name is Julie Harrelson. I'm the MC. I'll be your host tonight, and I'm the CEO of Harrelson Group, fund manager of Cascade Angels, and we're very excited with Cascade Angels. There are a lot of Cascade Angels investors and supporters in the room. We have our first meeting of the 2015 fund tomorrow morning, so that'll be a great kickoff. I'm really pleased, and thank you to the community of entrepreneurs for your support in getting last year's fund off the ground and also this year. It's just awesome, and I think you probably may have read in the news that we were able to secure a potential $100,000 investment from Oregon Growth Board, and we're still working towards that goal. This is not a general solicitation, just an update on where we are with respect to Oregon Growth Board. Title sponsors, Carnot Peterson, Columbia Bank, and Zolo Media, thank you so much for being here. Our supporting sponsors, Jones & Ross CPAs, the COCC Small Business Development Center, OSU Cascades, and Ben Broadband Business. And I'd like to now introduce Kurt Barker from Carnot Peterson.
Thanks, Julie. Good to be here. Thank you all for coming. This is the impressive crowd for spring break, don't you think? Yeah. Everyone here was smart enough to schedule their tropical vacation for the off time, right? Good job. Kurt Barker with Carnot Peterson, together with John Napier, I co-chair our ETIP practice group, Emerging Business, Technology, and Intellectual Property. But what I really want to do tonight is give away booze again. So we're going to have a trivia contest. If you're in cyber land, video land, whatever, you might slowly stampede this way. I'll have a question for you in just a minute. I just want to briefly touch on the question I wanted to ask because it's timely. Just yesterday, the Oregon Supreme Court gave us a really important case. Don't worry, I'm not going to give you all the details. Really important case on non-competes. Reminder about how critical it is to draft them carefully if you actually want to enforce them in our state. So the question I wanted to ask was rank the West Coast states in order of ease of enforcement for non-competes. Isn't that a great question, right? Yeah, see, staff went nerd alert, don't do it. Don't do it. So I'll tell you the answer in a minute, but the real question, I'd like to see a hand raised, please, if you want to win a bottle of Moragus Winery's Legal Zin. The real, Marigus, gosh darn it, fail. Thank you. Yeah, it's wine. It's good. You're covered. I'd like to see a hand for whoever can name our firm's new address, the street address, not just the building name, as of April. No, Holly, you work for us. Our new street address as of what? A week from Friday. We're moving. We're stoked. I need the street address. While the hands are coming up, oh, I think I have an answer. While the hands are coming up, while your Google fingers are firing off, cheating's okay. I didn't say it wasn't allowed. It's California can't enforce an employment non-compete. Washington's a little bit easier. Oregon's kind of in the middle. Very tough, but you can do it if you fit a laundry list of requirements. So for the new physical address, that gentleman over there, do you have it? Oh, okay. Yeah. It's on the flyer? It's on the flyer? No.
That was impressive. And therein lies Central Oregon's reputation for innovation. Very quick solution. That's just awesome. Okay, Neil Bone from Columbia Bank. Oh, there's an empty table right here if you want to be close to the action. There's 4 seats right here if you'd like to be there. And I promise I won't call on you.
Okay, I don't have any booze to give away, but I do have Kurt's cell number if anybody wants it for later. My name is Neil Bone, and I'm with Columbia Bank, and I'm not used to a microphone much because I shout so much normally. We're a small bank, about $8.5 billion in assets, 150 branches, number 17 on the Forbes list, but enough about banking, okay? I know you're all dying to know what bankers do when they're not working, right? Because besides from the things that we can't divulge because of our secret oath, some of the things are we mountain bike, we ski, we go camping, we do things like this. But we also serve on boards of nonprofits. We volunteer for nonprofits. Yep. Thank you. I'll pay you later. Okay. And when I moved to Bend, people asked me, they didn't ask where I lived or where I was from or if I was married or had kids. You know what they ask? What kind of dog do you have? Okay? What kind of dog do I have? Fortunately, I had two, so they allowed me to stay. And sooner or later, they found out where I lived, or I told them somebody else's address, and we moved on. But it got me to thinking about all my life the fact that I've had dogs, okay? And I love dogs, and I can't live without them, and I'll probably have them until I die first, and they'll inherit whatever I have because we have no kids. But fast forward to today and what's going on today and what we're doing. Two of us at Columbia Bank here in Bend are fortunate enough to serve on the board of the Humane Society of Central Oregon, which is consistently voted by everybody in Bend as the top nonprofit in Bend. I'm sorry? Right after, absolutely after EDCO. EDCO is the top business nonprofit in Bend. I got to thinking about that today, and they've got a permanent staff of 40 people. They have volunteers that total over 250, which means 14 full-time equivalents in volunteers. I mean, just crazy. And that group is led by Sabrina Slesser, who is in the back and is the executive director of the Humane Society. Thank you, Sabrina. And got a giant thrift store and the 10th anniversary of our giant fundraising event, which is Tuxes and Tails, coming up June 6th. Okay, so this year's theme will be Hooray for Hollywoof. I didn't make that up. Okay, it's not me. But there'll be lots of glitz and glamour as if we were at the Oscars with red carpets and paparazzi and all of the stuff that goes with it, seat fillers and all of that. And until March 31st, which is Tuesday at midnight, there's a 5% discount on tickets. You can go online to get those. It is June 6th at 5:30 at the River House. And I hope to see you there. Thanks.
Thanks so much. Sounds like a great cause, so appreciate you letting us all know about that. So I'd now like to introduce Julie Brinks, the General Manager at Zolo Media.
Thank you, Julie. Those two guys are going to be a little hard to follow. I brought a script because I'm in broadcasting and we read from scripts usually. So, when I walked in the door, I had 3 or 4 people take a look at my name tag, and the first thing they asked was, "What's Zolo Media?" So I guess we've got a challenge, so I'm going to tell you what Zolo Media is. First of all, Zolo Media originally was COCA. Anybody know COCA? Central Oregon Cable Advertising, which was a part of Bend Broadband, sister company or subsidiary of Bend Broadband. But over the years, it's grown into much more than just a cable advertising organization. A few years ago, the local ABC affiliate, KOHD, and the local CBS affiliate, KBNZ, became a part of the Bend Broadband organization. So there's actually broadcast television stations as a part of Zolo Media. We also have a phenomenal production group with a full remote truck, dozens of cameras and editing systems, and a great creative service department. And we program the local access channels right here in Bend, providing phenomenal local programming coverage of our local high school sports, graduations, the Christmas parade, the pet parade in July. And so there's things that we do for the local community that people don't necessarily know is Zolo Media, because it kind of falls under this umbrella. So we're kind of on a mission to define Zolo and to get that name out so that people understand that it's more than just Zolo Media. There's a lot of things underneath that. So one of the things we're really proud of this past year, we've worked really hard on a program called My Window. I hope you've seen it. It runs at 6 p.m. on KOHD and 7 p.m. on KBNZ. And it's really phenomenally produced, beautiful interviews, feature stories about lifestyle right here in Central Oregon. Totally locally produced by local people. And so it really speaks, I think, to the kind of programming that we want to bring to Central Oregon. So beyond what is Zolo, who is Zolo? Well, I like to think of ourselves as storytellers and journalists and community voices and visual communicators, because that's what we do. Video is the most powerful form of media and communication there is out there, whether it's over the air on a broadcast television station, through the cable system, online. We're consuming video every day. It's our way of communicating. And so that's our mission, is to really tell the stories of Central Oregon. And then through that, be able to advocate for the growth of local business through creating great marketing plans, and to help our nonprofits really get their word out about what their needs are in the local community. I'm a career broadcaster. I've been doing it all my life. And the most important thing that I have experienced and been rewarded for in my career is being able to truly make an impact in the local community through our stations and through visual communication. So that's who Zolo Media is. And I want to thank EDCO for a phenomenal opportunity for us to sponsor and be involved in this event. Thanks.
Thanks, Julie. I've really enjoyed, I've been on My Window a couple of times when we first started the first fund, and then more recently. And also, I don't know if you all saw it this week, but Brian Vieira, our EDCO Venture Catalyst, was featured on My Window. It was a great, really loved the show. So, and thank you for all that great storytelling. It's magnificent to actually have the clear story of Central Oregon being told consistently. So now I get the chance to introduce the EDCO staff, which I do every time, and usually they kind of stand up and everybody kind of applauds, and it's kind of a moment. So I decided to take a little creative license since we have just a couple extra minutes. And in the spirit of March and in the spirit of St. Patrick's, I wrote some limericks about each of the EDCO staff members in attendance. With apologies to the purists, it doesn't have exactly the right limerick syllables, but so I'd like to have Robin Sharp, Aaron Riley, Jesse Lord, Caroline, Aaron C., and Roger Lee please stand up, and please continue to stand until I'm complete with this. And please hold your applause until the end, unless you can't take it because it's so beautiful. Okay, Robin. There once was a woman named Robin, whose many conversations are more than hobnobbin. Her persistent intent is a substantive event, is a sustained event, and that is the woman named Robin. Thank you, Robin. And thank you to all of you for indulging me in this, okay? Aaron Riley. There once was a woman named E. Riley who develops events that make people smiley. She finds members galore, and for EDCO does much more, and that is the woman named Riley. Jesse Lord. There once was a woman named Jesse Lord, whose ECDev communication stakeholders are never bored. She has a bright mind in the materials you can find, and that is the woman named Jessie. There once was a woman named Caroline. In Prineville, her ECDev efforts are quite fine. She works hard, and that is the woman named Caroline. And Erin Chayette, are you there? Okay. Step out so all your fans can see you. There once was a woman named Erin C., whose job requires many the ability. Nothing escapes her gaze, and EDCO's performance she does raise, and that is the woman named Erin. And finally, certainly last but not least, and probably hoping he's been left out of this embarrassment, there was a man named Roger Lee, whose organization's KPIs, key performance indicators, KPIs rise like mercury. His manner is quiet while saying, "Central Oregon, try it." And that is the man named Roger Lee. Now, excuse me, but all of that, oh, I skipped a page. Here we go. So now I'd like to introduce Mr. Lee for his director's minute.
We have such a creative MC, don't you think? She's just brilliant. So, what a beautiful evening. Of course, you couldn't tell in here, and I'm sure there's no basketball fans here tonight either, right? Everybody's checking their devices. So, one more reason just to thank you for coming, spending your evening with EdCo and with our entrepreneurs and keynote speaker and everybody else here at the events tonight. So, we've got a packed agenda, so I'll be brief. At the last couple of pub talks, I reported that we're looking for a manager in La Pine. I wish I could actually tell you that we're ready to make a decision on that, but I haven't got the green light from the powers that be, which is not me. That actually rhymed. But hopefully we'll have an announcement soon. I did want to acknowledge Eric Strobel, who has the great beard, one that I couldn't get going myself. Eric, where is he? I think he's hanging out in the other room. He knew I was going to embarrass him, but they did the search as so many other companies have done for us pro bono, so thank him for doing that. I'm pleased to say that the Oregon Legislature passed Senate Bill 611. Many probably not much of in your lives, this type of legislation, but I would say it really didn't cross the finish line without a lot of work by our own representative, Mike McLean, along with his partner in crime in the Senate, Mark Haas, and the rest of our Central Oregon delegation. And you say, well, okay, 611, what does that mean? Why is that important? Well, for us in economic development, it's less to do with obviously early stage companies, but you never know, it could, because many of those early stage companies have cloud computing solutions. Cloud computing actually deals with data centers, and we like data centers in Central Oregon, and we're trying to get more of them. So what is kind of on the line for us as far as this legislation goes is probably no less than a few $1 billion in activity and projects, jobs, et cetera, that can come to the region. As a result of kind of getting some of this cleared up. It's been promoted as by the media as kind of a tax break bill, but more accurately it provides a degree of certainty and actually will probably wind up increasing the taxes a lot of organizations or what they've paid in the past, but it doesn't get reported that way. Last but not least, I want to make you aware of an interesting and relevant seminar that's coming up for HIDEC, HIDEC Enterprise Consortium. This is all about continuous improvement, process improvement, et cetera. It's called The Heart of Improvement, Transforming Your Company's Culture. And it's being taught by one of our local superstar consultants, Mo Carrick from Momentum. It's a week from today in the morning, held right here in Bend, and will encompass all the topics to kind of get your team aligned as far as moving forward on continuous improvement. So grab a flyer. It looks like this. If you're interested, talk to me. Give me your card. We'll get you signed up. It's a screaming deal for non-members at $95. And if you're a member of HIDEC, see me about that as well. $55. You can't find a Fred Pryor seminar for that. Thank you.
I'd like to announce our newest members at EdCo, Bremick Construction, and Central Oregon Intergovernmental Council, the COIC. So now we get to move on into the pitches and the core content of our evening. And I promised you when I started this MC work that I would give a little bit of humor, some data, and as much meaning as possible. So I wanted to give you a few data points so I follow through on my commitment. So first, let me tell you about Jim and the field that he's in. Then let me tell you a little bit about our local education community here. So Jim is a native Oregonian, and he's president and co-founder of Education Framework, which is a series of student privacy tools to help protect sensitive information while also assisting the schools, teachers, and districts to determine what they should be doing. So there's a lot of interest in this right now, and I'm sure you'll enjoy his presentation. And just to provide some local context, they're doing this work, of course, broadly across education, but when we think about, for example, the number of students that are affected in the Bend-La Pine school district, there are 17,160 students in Bend-La Pine. 80% of our students continue education within 5 years after graduating. The maintenance teams, I love statistics like this, okay? The maintenance team manages 2.21 million square feet of facilities, and the class of 2014 won $7 million in scholarships. So, Jim?
Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Jim Onstad, and I'm the president and co-founder of Education Framework. And along with Katie Onstad, my wife, also vice president and co-founder of the company, we are really excited to be here presenting to you tonight. Our company develops enterprise software that protects student privacy. So in the consumer world, you might compare us to a company like Angie's List, where people use Angie's List to find the safest contractors. Schools and districts use our services to find the safest apps and websites to use in their classrooms. So effectively, our services allow districts to make more informed decisions about the resources that they're using in their schools. So this is a great fit for me because, one, I'm a parent, and two, I've been developing software for over 25 years and been developing software as a service type platforms like this for the last 12 years. I used to be a chief information officer in the world of finance and insurance. And as part of that executive team, I helped grow a multi-million-dollar company by 10 times, and the company was able to complete a successful exit of nearly $100 million. After the merger, I stayed on with the company as the vice president of application development, and then left the company in 2013 to branch out on my own, bringing us back to today where Katie and I are parents of two young school-age kids. And with the use of tablets and laptops in our classrooms today, there is a huge trend towards personalized learning. Well, as a result, a huge gap in student privacy has emerged, and more specifically around the personal data of the students, names, birth dates, grades, performance information, things like that. So why should we care about any of this? Well, as part of our initial research, we learned about a school district in Pennsylvania who was slapped with a federal class action lawsuit. And the school-supplied laptops were being used to snap photos and take videos of the students in their own homes. You can imagine how egregious that is. The school district ended up settling for more than $600,000, only to be slapped with additional parallel lawsuits from other students whose privacy had been violated. So as part of our plan, it became our mission to make sure that students are adequately protected when they use technology in school, and that school districts are protected when adopting these new technologies in school. So in late 2013, we completed our plan. Shortly thereafter, we were able to secure $260,000 in seed funding to get the company started. And we immediately began developing test products around the idea of creating safer online learning environments for students. One key issue that ended up driving the direction of our initial services was that although schools are required to comply with state and federal privacy law, student data privacy is usually a total afterthought. And the lawsuit in Pennsylvania is a good example of that. And just kind of taking a look at things locally here, I'll ask for a show of hands here. Who here in the room is a parent? And keep your hands up if you're a parent. Okay. And then now keep your hand up if you have kids in school. Okay. And now, how many of you know how your kids' private information is being used by technology in school? It's kind of what I expected there. So with more than 50 million students around the country and that kind of response, you can kind of understand the scale and the scope of this problem. It's big. Schools spend more than $8 billion annually on education software and digital content. So this is an enormous market that's just now starting to pay attention to student data privacy. Recent legislation is also driving awareness. This year already there's been 138 new student data privacy bills introduced. That compares to 110 bills introduced last year. So this is a big issue and it's not going away. And as legislators come up with all these new rules, schools and districts are pressured to implement a student data privacy program in their schools. So until now, they had a couple of tough options. The first option was to do nothing. And unfortunately, that's happening all over the country, and it's really due to a lack of understanding about student data privacy obligations. And this option just leaves students and districts totally exposed to problems. The second option is to develop an inefficient and costly manual process that it just isn't able to handle student data privacy with adequate accountability and transparency. So we saw an important need in the market for another option, and we created the first ever online student data privacy manager. And we call this service EdProtect. So now EdProtect offers school districts a third option to implement a student data privacy program, and a way to do it with complete accountability and transparency. But the real magic is in the simplicity of our solution. We were determined and committed to delivering a simple solution to a huge market that had previously only had very complicated and cumbersome options to choose from. So with all this good stuff, we have multiple paths to profitability. We will sell directly to schools and school districts. We will sell through channel partners who have already established customer bases. And we will sell through state legislative deals that dedicate money to education technology. We have a distinct advantage over our competition. Our patent-pending student privacy process is the first of its kind. And this is the intellectual property that is going to make it difficult for other companies to introduce a solution into this area. We have a recurring revenue business model, and we offer annual subscriptions to schools and districts. And we also plan to generate license revenue from our intellectual property. So with over 55 million students in the US and about 6 million new tablets and laptops being deployed each year, our total addressable market is about 15 million students at this point. At an average of $4 per student per year, and we have a total market value of about $60 million annually. Conservatively speaking, we plan to capture 5% of that market, making us profitable by 2017. So we've put a great team together, as I mentioned. Katie Onstad is our vice president and co-founder. She holds a bachelor's degree and has a background in management, operations, and marketing. Richard Montoya is our lead engineer. He holds a master's degree and is a certified full-stack developer. Ken Shirilla serves as an advisor for our company. He holds an MBA from Carnegie Mellon, and he really knows how to get a company started from the ground up. And just last week, another advisor committed to us verbally. This person is a true rock star in the education technology world, and more specifically, a national leader in student data privacy. So we're really excited to start working with that person in the coming weeks. So tonight, we're asking for more customers. If any of you know education leaders in our community that might be interested in this type of software, please contact us, let us know. We're also looking for education technology sales talent and sales and distribution partnerships. So if any of you can help with those things, please come talk with us. So in closing, thank you to EDCO, and thank you all for taking the time to learn more about our company tonight.
Great, so I'm going to launch the questions here and just ask Jim, what kind of traction do you have now?
We've been working with a beta district now for 6 months, and we've learned a ton of valuable things from that relationship, and we've established some great strategic partnerships over the last year, And just last week, we attended a conference in Atlanta, and we signed on a new advisor, as I mentioned, and we also began talks with districts in Wisconsin and Texas about using our services. The one in Texas is notable because it's the Houston Independent School District, the 8th largest school district in America, 200 some odd thousand students, so good traction.
That's great. Question, David Johnson? Are you making any money yet?
We are pre-revenue, and we are pre-revenue and moving quickly towards launch stage.
Yeah, great. Other questions? Yeah. Will you be doing any market research with the data that you accumulate anonymously?
The whole idea behind this entire industry is that we will be using data for education purposes, and the apps and websites that we assess, part of their qualifications is that they don't do that type of thing. Now, schools can sign contracts that allow that type of thing to happen, but in general, every piece of data is dedicated towards better outcomes and a more successful school system.
Other questions? Questions from the other room? The reason I'm repeating the questions is because we have some people that are in the other room listening in. Anyone? Anyone? Where? Yeah. Oh, yes.
Do you have competitors in this marketplace?
Do you have competitors in this marketplace? And who might they be?
Yeah. We have two pieces to our software. One is a privacy piece, and we're first to market with that, so there's not a lot of competition there. But we also have a paperless consent piece or a paperless forms piece, and we do have some significant competition there. The big players like Adobe and DocuSign. We like to look at those companies as potential acquirers. So we do have some big competition in the paperless side.
Yes.
So what about your intellectual property? How, are you getting a patent, or what are you going to protect your approach?
Can you speak to your intellectual property and what you're doing to protect that?
So in early 2014, we applied for a provisional patent. And then over the last year, we went through a number of steps to validate that this was it would play in the market. And we would be able to make some changes to that patent. So just a couple weeks ago, we submitted our non-provisional utility patent, and it covered a lot of the things that we learned over the last year. So that's pending, patent pending right now.
One last question. Going, gone. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
So great job. Thank you, Jim. So I'd like to now introduce Mitch Rost, a longtime physical therapist and creator of the new StaBALLizer. 8 pieces of exercise equipment in one, focusing on the muscles you cannot see in the mirror.
Sorry this isn't taller, but we'll have to do. Thank you. Yeah, I'm Mitch Rost. I'm a 15-year veteran of the physical therapy profession and the founder of Innovative Rehab Products, which is an LLC based out of Redmond. My company specializes in developing new products for the physical therapy and physical fitness industries. I'm a young company. I've only been incorporated for a little over a year, and most of that time has been wrapped up in the conceptual design of this product, the StaBALLizer, which is what I'm here to show you tonight. Hopefully you'll agree when I'm done that it's the most interactive, portable, and multifunctional piece of muscle stability equipment soon to be on the market. So I know a lot of you are probably thinking to yourselves, great, another piece of exercise equipment. You know, there's hundreds of them out there, right? There seems to be a new one about every other month or even sooner. My answer to that is twofold. One, you're going to have to trust me as a physical therapist that most of the, well, not most, a good portion of the stuff that's out there is garbage. It's stuff that wouldn't do you any better than if you just did the same exercise without any piece of equipment at all, okay? Secondly, the stuff that does have some merit out there really focuses on the big, strong, sexy muscles of the body, right? The ones we like to look at in the mirror, right? Or the ones that we like to take selfies of, okay? There's just not a lot of equipment out there that focuses on the muscles that have a more primary role in, one, injury prevention, okay? Two, protecting our joints for long-term wear and tear. Three, giving us more athletic agility. And four, basically the muscles that therapists spend all their time treating. Okay? And the muscles I'm talking about are the deep stabilizing muscles of the body. So you've probably heard of a few of them. You may know somebody who's had surgery on them, but you really don't know what they do and you don't know how to really strengthen them. Okay? So muscles like the rotator cuff in your shoulder. Okay? Muscles like the deep transversus abdominis buried underneath that six-pack we all have, right? Okay? Muscles like the gluteus medius and gluteus minimus buried underneath our gluteus maximus. Okay? So whereas these big, strong, sexy muscles are really good at moving our environment around, you know, pushing, pulling, twisting, throwing, etc., it's those deep stabilizing muscles that keep the environment from pushing us around. And that's really more important for injury prevention. So the example I like to use is the stand-up paddleboard. You go down to the river with your stand-up paddleboard, you set it on the beach, it's not that hard. Right? It's when you put it in the water and all of a sudden everything's moving, it doesn't matter if you can squat 300 pounds, if you can't stabilize, you're going in the water. Okay? Likewise, if you're an offensive lineman, you can go to the combine, you can bench press the most weight, squat the most weight, still doesn't matter. You have to be able to backpedal and keep your hands on a 300-pound defensive lineman that's bearing down on your quarterback. Right? That takes stability, not just strength. Okay? So how do we train that? Well, the way you train that is by decreasing the stability in the environment you're working out in. Right? You know, you go to the gym and all these machines, they push one big sexy muscle after another in one direction, right? You go from one machine to the next. In reality, you'd be better off taking your free weights, going down on your paddleboard, sitting in the river and doing your exercises, right? Or you could get something like the StaBALLizer, which will do it in the comfort of your own home, right? So my daughter's going to help me tonight. We're going to demonstrate only 3 of the exercises. Yeah, isn't she brave? I wouldn't have done this at 11, I can tell you that. So the model she's working on here is a 3D printed prototype. So it's not the real version. If you come up and look at it afterwards, you'll see that it's just plastic. All right? Eventually it will be injection molded and be probably 10 times the strength that this one is here. And this one I've used personally for most of the year, and yeah, I've had to glue a few things here and there, but I mean, for a 3D printed model, it's held up to everything I've thrown at it. All right, so the first exercise Kylie's going to demonstrate is the plank. Everybody's familiar with planking. It's real popular right now, right? You try and hold push-up position, see how long you can keep your core going and your shoulders. Well, in this position, you have 4 points of contact. You got both your feet, both your hands. What the StaBALLizer does is now puts you in a situation where you've only got 3 points of contact. And one of those points is unstable, obviously, right? So you really, really have to work that core harder, your rotator cuff harder, all your stabilization muscles. Now, for all you techies out there, I'm sorry I'm not a tech company, but I did incorporate tech for you. So with all the modern technology we've got with our cell phones, our accelerometers, our gyroscopes, I designed this thing to be the first piece of equipment that incorporates our modern technology. So she can take the cell phone, pull up any number of apps, there's hundreds of them out there, that you don't even have to touch the phone to play a game or whatever. So there's a game out there, for instance, that simulates the old game we had as kids where you have the box with the 2 knobs on it and you roll the marble around, try and get it in the right hole. She can pull that up on the phone, play games for 20 minutes, not even realize she just did a massive core workout. Okay? And she's 11, right? Amen to kids actually exercising while they play games. Okay? So we can also put foot plates in it. And now you've got a similar thing only for the lower extremity. Okay? Again, you can put your phone on here. If you can find apps that will sync up with Google Chromecast or Apple TV, you can actually take whatever's on your cell phone, stream it onto your big screen television, and now you've got the same thing essentially as the Nintendo Wii balance system. Only this one's portable and it moves, so it's even more challenging. Okay? Now I've also developed an app for this. It's not quite done, but it's in the process and it's at least functional so we can look at it tonight and use it. That will compete with a piece of equipment in the physical therapy world called the Biodex. And the Biodex is a big piece of machinery about the size of a refrigerator, and you get patients up on it, and there's a disc in the middle, and they move the disc around, and as they do that, it moves a cursor on a computer screen. So the better the faster and more accurate you move that cursor around, that's kind of an indication of how good your stability or your proprioception is. That piece of machinery costs $15,000, and like I said, it takes up the size of a refrigerator in your clinic. With something like this, the StaBALLizer with a pair of foot plates is going to be probably about $200, and you can put it in a backpack and take it with you, okay? And not only that, but you've got a lot of traveling therapists out there that can take this to patients' homes if they want it and be able to have the similar thing as a Biodex in the patient's home, which is an advantage we've never had before. Okay, and then the last thing she's going to show you, you can put the ball back together and create the world's best ab roller. And I call it the world's best because not only does she have to stabilize as she rolls out and back, but she has to stabilize side to side. So your traditional ab wheel is flat. Okay, so yes, you have to stabilize a little bit, nothing like this. And not only that, it's kind of like the Dyson vacuum. If she wants to go and work her obliques, go side to side, tip it, surface never changes. Your ab wheel, you tip it, you're going to fall over. So this is anybody who's ever done ab rolling should really try this. It's super smooth, really fun to use. All right. It also turns into an aerobic stepper, so you can pull the halves apart, put them flat side down, and now you've got a rounded aerobic step-up device. Okay, great for ankle stability. If you're into yoga, you can do your yoga poses on it. You can use it as free weights. You can use it as a kettlebell. You can use it as a medicine ball. And of course, what you saw on the PubTalk, the email is the main thing is an actual push-up device. So it splits apart and there's push-up handles on the inside, so you can do your push-ups on a destabilized surface. All right, thanks, Kai. So where am I going from here? Well, over the next 6 months, my goal is to get the tooling done to make the product, get it into the Oregon physical therapy market, and do a beta test. Why am I choosing the physical therapy market? Well, nationwide, we have 25,000 clinics and 200,000 practitioners, and I want to get into those people within the next, hopefully 12 to 18 months. But the physical therapy world, and it's not just because I'm a physical therapist, that'd be the easy cop-out, but there's easy entry into that market. So they have 2 major conferences a year where all the therapists come on a national level, and vendors are there with all their great, devices. So it's really easy to get in front of a lot of them. They've got 3 to 4 major catalogs you buy all your equipment out of. They have budgets, which we always like when our people we're selling to have budgets, and they spend a little bit more on things than the average person would. And they have to use their budgets, right, just like the government, or they don't get to keep them. Right? And lastly, they're going to be critical of me, and I want to get into a market that's really critical, gives me all the feedback I need, make any fine-tune changes to this thing before I hit my bigger markets. And my bigger markets would include 30,000 athletic clubs, 45,000 high school and college athletic departments, and of course the big elephant in the room, right? The 25.5 million home gym users. And we might have 25 million more who would love to have a home gym, but don't think they have the space. Well, again, this thing fits in a backpack and go in the closet. So if they can't make that work, then they need to be on hoarders. So, this thing will be great for a very large population of people. My ask tonight, I'm a one-person show, so I need to start building a team to get this into the national arena. So I need help on many levels, including finance, marketing and communication, manufacturing, anything you think you may have to offer, I'd be willing to listen. So if you're that person or you know that person, please come talk to me. We'll leave this set up after the presentation tonight, so anybody who wants to try it out, feel free. It's strong enough for you to test it out, and I'll open it up for questions.
Questions for Mitch? Yes.
What kind of research have you done on the applications for Parkinson's and conditions like that?
What kinds of research have you done on the applications for Parkinson's and other diseases similar?
The short answer would be none. I mean, yeah, Parkinson's, any of these systemic disorders like that, there will be some benefit. Anytime you're dealing with stability muscles, that's really what, well, in the case of Parkinson's, it's a little bit trickier than that. But most people, as they age and they lose balance, it's because of the stability muscles. And in Parkinson's, it's, like I say, it's more of a dopamine receptor problem. So I don't know how, this will have some effect, but not as much as with some other conditions that, like MS, for instance, you would have probably a better outcome.
Other questions? Aaron? Just one second. Aaron, go ahead, and then we'll answer that question.
How many exercises does this one device?
How many exercises can you do with this one device?
Well, the ball will convert into 8 different things, actually 9. I've actually designed it to hook up to a jump rope as well. You can use the handles and do jump roping. But in terms of number of exercises, you could probably get into the range of 75 to 100 different exercises you could use with the 8 different pieces of equipment. And I've got a few more up my sleeve, but I'm not going to disclose all my secrets yet. So.
This is awesome.
And in answer to your question,
Price point.
ideal price point is going to be about $120 for the base unit, which would be the ball and the planking handles. If I can get the manufacturing down with larger numbers, I'd like to bring that number down over time. For the whole kit, it's going to be more around the $299 price. And I'm going to sell different parts so you can make different, you can put different packages together.
Different colors.
Yeah, there'll probably be 2 to 3 color options.
I like to have that to go with my workout uniforms. Jeff.
I mean, it kind of goes unspoken, but it seems to me that protecting this from a patent perspective is
Yeah.
a gain.
So, question around, or a statement that protecting this with patents is probably the whole game on this. So, what's your thought about that?
My patent process has almost been the exact as the last speaker. I did a provisional early 2014, in fact January, and submitted actually 1 utility and 2 design patents earlier this year. So I'm still patent pending. I mean, there's no guarantee on that, but I do have the design patents if the utility doesn't go through. I imagine that it will. There's not much else out in the market like this, so we'll keep your fingers crossed.
Yes.
Are you in a position yet for beta testers, or do you have a cadre of beta testers?
Cadre of beta testers.
Well, like I said, I want to use the Oregon physical therapy market. There's some locally that absolutely that will do it. A lot of my co-workers, right, and people I know around here. I don't think it'll be too difficult to do that. I haven't done that to this point because I don't have product. I want to, I'm probably looking at 3 to 4 months just in wait time to get tooling done before I have actual product. So I'll be running around the state doing that as I get the manufacturing set up.
One more question, Roger.
Looks like you've developed some great design elements in that. Can you tell us a little about how you came to this, and how you got to this prototype?
So interesting design elements. How did you get to this design prototype?
A lot of sweat. No. You mean in terms of how I came up with the idea, or just the process over the past year?
So if you developed all the features and technologies yourself, or do you?
Absolutely, yeah. So the idea originally came from push-up handles, believe it or not. I wanted to create a better way to do push-ups because there was nothing out there. As a therapist, you're always trying to find ways to get people to do stability. It's so easy to do things that are non-stability. There's competitors out there for me like the Bosu ball or Perfect Push-Up, but they have weaknesses. So Perfect Push-Up just rotates, and it really doesn't change how well you activate your stabilizers. The Bosu ball, I don't know if anybody's familiar with the Bosu ball. It's a half therapy ball with a disc on one side. You have to hold on with both hands. So again, you can't use it unilaterally, and that unilateral stability makes a big, big difference. And so the whole design came in trying to create something for unilateral push-ups with no stability. And once I realized I could put the ball together, then I just kind of started adding stuff. So yeah, it just kind of snowballed.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Mitch.
You're welcome.
Thanks so much, Mitch. And I think we should have a special round of applause for Kylie, your assistant. So good job. Something I discovered too is that you actually don't need fitness outfits to do this. You could actually have it in your office, which I just demonstrated here for you.
I have to say really quick, Kylie thinks she's going to make money tonight challenging people to a contest. So anybody wants to challenge her to any of the devices, she thinks she's going to make a buck. So.
Okay. Okay, good job. Thank you. All right, so next I'd like to introduce Sean Lipscomb, CEO of the Orange Chair Supply Company, dubbed the Bendite Amazon Guru, having already assisted a number of EDCO's consumer product startups. Sean?
Thank you. So I was joking with my wife before I came here that I get to speak about Amazon, which is kind of the 500-pound gorilla, right before arguably the most generous, social positive company on the internet. And so hopefully what you guys will get from this is that I'm driven to drive the economic growth of Central Oregon. So real quick, I always get the Orange Chair Supply Company question. I get it. It really has nothing to do with Amazon. The Orange Chair, for anybody who's local, I'm a local, Bend High, class of 99. The Orange Chair was the 6th chair on Mount Bachelor. It was the first triple chair in the Northwest. It gave way to the Skyliner Express in 1989. But the reason I chose it was my dad operated it in 1989, and he used to tell stories of kids just falling over and over and over. And so that's where the name came from. So quick participation, show of hands real quick, number of people that ordered on Amazon last year. That's impressive. Okay, you guys are amongst 250 million accounts. Amazon denotes an account as somebody who's ordered once in the last year, but that doesn't account the individual people. So if you're like me, my wife and I share an account, so that number of actual individual users is probably around 350 million users. So now another quick show of hands if you are a Prime customer on Amazon. Okay, still a really good number. You guys are part of the fastest growing customer base on the website at a 50% year over year in 2014, and estimated somewhere between 60 to 90 million Prime accounts. So these are very powerful customer bases. I can help you guys get access to these for local entrepreneurs. If you're just starting up, you need a little bit of capital. I do all integration, technical work. I can help with fulfillment operations, content, which is a huge one, online marketing. But for this particular venue, I kind of wanted to get into the why did I do it. I was listening to a speech here locally by a pretty prominent person within the community who was talking about always knowing what your story was. So he was mostly talking to manufacturers about never forgetting why you're building what you're building. And I was thinking to myself, well, why am I doing what I'm doing? And it wasn't very hard to come to. I spent 7 years at Amazon.com, most recently as the director of Marketplace Shoes. It was $1 billion business. I joke that I forecasted $1.5 billion and then left, and left the next guy with $500 million of growth. So good luck to him or her. I don't know who it was. But I left with some pretty prominent clients that actually gave me access or the ability to move down here with my wife. And once I came down here, I started meeting a lot of entrepreneurs and people who are trying to make it into Bend. And quite honestly, it's inspirational. You're meeting a lot of people who are going out on their own, and they saw problems and they're creating solutions, right? They saw local resources and they're creating soap. They saw products with chemicals, and they're creating products without chemicals. One of my favorites, I think it was 2 or 3 ago, the guy saw ugly golf carts, and so he created golf cart scooters. And when you talk to people like this, it's very inspirational. And then to go out on your own and kind of drop what you're doing, possibly leave the corporate world, to follow your guys' passion takes brass cojones. And so I was thinking to myself, well, you know, how can I give back to the company, or I'm sorry, to the community that raised me? And so I thought to myself, well, I have a pretty unique skill set. I understand the insides of Amazon. I worked there for a very long, well, for Amazon's terms, a very long time. And so I thought, well, you know what, I can possibly reach out and help some of these smaller companies get a foot in the door. Amazon can be extremely intimidating if you don't know, if you've never done it before or you don't know how to do it. So my goal is to help local companies gain a little bit more revenue. All right, Amazon's not a great place to build your brand. I tell all my clients that, but it is a great place to build some revenue. And then ideally, maybe if you start to sell more on Amazon, maybe you guys can then, you know, get larger accounts at Whole Foods or wherever it may be, and then maybe you hire somebody from COCC, maybe you hire a local PR person, maybe you take out an ad in the local paper, and everything, you know, starts to roll, and we can help push the Central Oregon economy forward. So that is what I do. I only had 5 minutes, so this was kind of a quick one. So that's what I do. I have a very long email address. It's annoying. I apologize, but it's easy. It's Sean@orangechairsupplycompany.com. Also, Facebook /orangechairsupplycompany.com. I know a lot of you are probably more interested in the how does it work? I want to use Fulfillment by Amazon. How can I grow my sales? How hard is it to integrate? How much does it cost? How much do you cost? That is a presentation in itself. So I'm open to always talk shop with anybody, so feel free to contact me. I'd be happy to talk.
So when you thought up the name Orange Chair, were you drinking a red chair? Beer?
No, it was the summertime.
Oh, summertime. Okay. All right. Questions for Sean? Aaron? Are you a one-man show?
I am a one-man show right now, but it's starting to grow. It's starting to roll. My goal would be to possibly start with a intern. Preferably somebody from COCC, give them a chance to kind of understand the e-commerce marketplace, retailing online, and then ideally, yeah, I'd like to grow, and I could use a little bit of help.
Is there someone way back here? Yeah, Steve. How do you spell Sean?
The correct way?
The correct way.
S-E-A-N. Thank you, though I should have said that. Sean is S-E-A-N @orangechairsupplycompany.com.
Take Jeff and then Brandon.
So where do you see the next level? And what do you need to get there?
Where do you see the next level, and what do you need to get there?
Are you talking in regards to e-commerce or me specifically? So me specifically, the next level that I think I can get to is what we would call internally as 1P, which is retailers. So I've done predominantly third-party sellers. I help people sell on Amazon. The next step for me is to help those larger companies that want to sell to Amazon. I do work with Cole Haan, Rubbermaid, and some of those on a much larger scale. Those are my enterprise clients that help, you know, keep the lights on. And so locally, I think that's the next step for me, is moving into what we call that 1P space where you're selling directly to Amazon instead of on Amazon.
Great. Thanks, Sean. What's the most interesting or unusual product or experience that you've had doing this work? that you can speak about.
I can't speak about, and the stuff you can't speak about sells incredibly well on Amazon. So, oh gosh, man, I have a lot of the local. There's some in here. Paleo Eats was a wonderful one. I thought probably one of the more interesting ones is listening to, and you guys probably know, where Stacy talked about healthy hoo-hoo, and our conversations on how to present this stuff on Amazon and keep it clinical has been really interesting. So I'd say as far as my local consumers, that's been the most, that's pretty instrumental.
Okay, yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We had Stacy here a couple months ago, and it was a great presentation. But Sean, thank you so much, and thanks for all your hard work. So I'd like to introduce our keynote speaker now, Dale Partridge, who has done a few things in his life. Launched 7 companies, including 7ly.org and startupcamp.com. Has given $4.2 million to charities. Has over 1 million readers on his blog, The Daily Positive. Has authored the upcoming book, People Over Profit, with foreword by the founder of Tom Shoes, Blake Mycoskie, and all before his 30th birthday.
All right. I'm going to set this beer down. Thanks for having me, guys. It's cool. I just spoke at AdFed a couple days ago, or maybe a week ago. It's nice to be somewhere that I'm not traveling on an airplane. Last year I spoke, I don't know, almost a little over 60 times, which means that it's between 50 to 75 airplanes, right? Like just traveling all over the country. So to be able to go and just like drive down Portland and then come down here was amazing. I have a couple notes. I usually give a talk that I'm a prepared person. I get and I do like presentations in front of thousands of people. So this is more my personal story, which is really exciting to share because I really don't get to share that often. And so I just wrote some notes out, and I'm gonna kind of hammer through them and tell you about my life. So I grew up in Southern California. I'm actually gonna do this because I'm a walker. I grew up in Southern California, and right outside of LA in a city called Rancho Cucamonga. Anybody ever heard of that? Okay. When I was growing up, like nobody heard of that. It was like Bugs Bunny knew about it. That's it, right? And I had a little brother and pretty normal family, and it was a really cool place to grow up. And summer year round. That's why we moved here, obviously. But we got a chance to. I played baseball. I thought I was going to be a professional baseball player by the time I was 16. I was looking. I was a left-handed pitcher and had scouts looking at me. And growing up, my dad used to, come in the house, and he would set his keys down on this little table next to our front door, and he would look me in the eye as a little boy. I'm talking 5, 6 years old, and he'd say, Dale, I'm wearing the golden handcuffs. At that age, I had no idea what he was talking about. And as I got older, I realized that he was saying that, Dale, I have a job that's too good to leave. And he worked at General Electric. He was building aircraft engines. And it was this really interesting life that he had because I watched him that he would go to work all the time and he hated his job. And he had this entrepreneurial spirit inside of him, but it just kind of wasn't getting out. And over the time, I was kind of being pushed into being an entrepreneur. So I was selling candy as a kid. I had like a drug dealer full of goods in my junior high. I'm walking in with like Airhead Taffies, slinging them at 25 cents to the kids I liked and 75 cents to the kids I didn't like, right? So it was a really cool experience. And we were selling boxes growing up. And then I started my first company when I was about 18. I'd been fired from like 14 jobs from 16 to 18. I was totally unemployable. And I had a mentor come up to me and says, Dale, if you don't build your dream, someone else is gonna hire you to build theirs. And I remember thinking like, crap, like I need to do something. I hurt my arm playing baseball, so that was like a dream crush for me. I started my first company called The Fit Image, which is an in-home personal training company for wealthy moms. Okay, so this was like those were my clients. I never intended it to be like that, but it became very stressful. I was training these very wealthy. It was the wife with 4 or 5 kids and the husband that was an executive, and I would come in and I would train these people and typically like injury prevention, and I was very fascinated with health and ended up hating my life a year later, like thinking, oh my gosh, I'm a therapist. Like there's nothing good about this right now. And I was thinking, and I'm 19 at the time, I ended up selling the company to a family friend because I grew the company to about 7 employees. We were doing about $400,000 a year. And I was thinking, wow, like this is great. I sold the company for 50 grand though, right? Because I just wanted to get out. Sold the company for 50 grand to them, and I walked out. And I had a little bit of time, and I ate at Chipotle more than any person should ever eat at Chipotle. And I'm walking into Chipotle all the time, and this guy says, "Hey man, we went public today. Like, you should invest." And I'm like, all right, like I actually have a little bit of money to invest right now. It was like the timing was right. So I went back and I looked up, it was $21 a share for Chipotle. If anybody trades stocks right here, you know that that's ridiculously low. I think they're like $675 a share, right? So I bought $10,000 worth of stock, right? My first trade ever. And then it started growing. I thought, oh my God, this is amazing. This is 2006, right? And I thought, this is amazing. And it goes up to $121 a share, and I'm like freaking out. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm a stockbroker. Like, this is it, you know? And then I lost a bunch of money on some solar stocks that I won't share about. But this is pre-solar, right? Like before the boom. Anyways, I took that money and kind of said, hey, I was a rock climber at the time. I started rock climbing at an indoor climbing gym, and I started climbing a Joshua tree. And I thought, you know, this is what I love. I want to start a rock climbing gym. So all of my wealthy clients that I knew from my past company, I said, hey, I gathered them all together and I said, hey, you know, I want to start this business. I'm going to throw in $100,000. I need $500,000. I'm 20 years old pitching this, right? And I raised $500,000 and we started this rock climbing gym. We built a 9,000 square foot rock climbing gym in Riverside, California. It's called Threshold, still there today. I'd since sold my stock at that company, but built this incredible climbing gym that was such a fun experience. And we had about 25 employees and about $600,000 a year in revenue. And it was my first real experience having a kind of a big team. And it was fun until my members, my partners came in and fired me from my own company. And this was a hard moment for me. I was 21 or 22 at the time maybe, and I was just an immature leader at the time. I didn't understand leadership. I didn't understand how to manage people. I was as egotistical as it gets. I mean, it's still something I battle with. I mean, think of me 8 years ago, right? So I'm sitting there, and they go, Dale, you're just, you know, you're a bull in a china shop, and you're just like destruction left behind you. And I'm like, you know, and I like don't believe it at that age, right? I'm like, what are you talking about? This is, you know, I find myself like unemployed and like broke. I mean, I had no money, and I thought, oh my gosh, like what am I going to do? I had stock, but I mean, as anybody knows, it's a partnership. Like, you know, I can't force them to buy me out. I can't get money for my stock because I didn't have control of the company. And so it was an interesting time. I felt like an entrepreneur that I felt like I didn't have a baby anymore. Like I was a mom that couldn't have a baby or something. It was a weird feeling that I was like, I need to start another business. And I almost wanted to prove that I could. And it was a little bit of a sick mentality for that time. And I went off and I started a conference company. And then I went and started a branding agency. And I wrote my first book and kind of spun off all these different experiments. And then I hit a wall. I hit this really big wall. And I thought, gosh, and I was making great money again. I was making, you know, $180,000 a year at 20-something years old, and it was like success wasn't fixing me. And I thought, like, I need meaning. I want to figure out how to have purpose, especially in business. And that's when I figured that I needed to figure out a way how to blend purpose and profit together. And I wanted to kind of flip capitalism upside down. I wanted to figure out what that looked like, and I wanted to start something that had purpose. And you know, I started a company called Sevenly, and this is kind of, I guess, one of probably my big hit, I guess, as an entrepreneur. The idea was I started looking at charities, and I realized that, you know, over 800,000 charities were going out of business every year in the United States. And I looked at why. I was thinking, like, why are they going out of business? And I realized that, like, charities don't go out of business because of a lack of passion. Like, that's not the case, right? They go out of business because they either don't understand marketing, they don't understand business skills, they don't understand management, they don't understand social media. But also, they're missing out on funding and awareness. I mean, ultimately, that's the culprit. Like, people don't know that they exist, especially the small ones. And so I thought, okay, let's build a company where every week we'd partner with a new charity. We'd create products like shirts, hats, beanies, you know, scarves, things that you'd find at maybe like Urban Outfitters. And every time somebody bought a product, we would give $7 to that week's charity. We launched the company in June 13th, 2011. And out of the office of my current branding agency, with my current branding agency team, And we made more money in that week, and we thought, oh my gosh, if we did this 52 times in a year, like we would make 3 times the money we make at the agency. So I had to kill the company. We sold almost 1,000 products the first week, which means that we almost gave away $7,000 to the first charity, which was incredible. I thought, oh my gosh, like this is crazy. I can't believe this is working. I was a little bit shocked. And this was like the beginning of mayhem. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, depending on who you are, just desire this at the core. Like, oh gosh, like I just want to have a fast growth company. It depends on who you are. And also if you're single or you're married, if you have kids. I mean, I'm married. I have a little baby girl, and we didn't have a baby at that time, but it's a difficult thing to have a fast growth company. We grew the company from 0 to 50 employees in 2.5 years. And it became to the point where I'd walk in and there was literally people there that I didn't know. Like I was like, this is weird. Like, who are you? You know? And that was the first time I thought, man, like I had been friends with Blake from Tom's and a couple other guys that had some bigger companies. I thought, wow, like you can't know everybody, and everybody knows you. It's a very weird thing. And we grew the company to about almost $10 million a year in revenue, that quick. And we raised actually some capital. We raised about $2 million from venture capital. So I got a chance to like run the ropes in San Francisco and hit the VC firms and pitch to so many different people and learn how to write a true pitch deck and like and go through the legal and pay ridiculous fees to attorneys, and you guys know, right? And it was a great experience, and I learned a ton. And the biggest lesson that I realized is that companies can grow faster than people can. And this was a moment that I thought, crap, like I couldn't read enough books. I couldn't get enough mentorship to keep up with my the payroll was like $375 or $275,000 every 2 weeks. And I was 27, right? I had guys that were 48 years old working with me, you know, have 5 kids and a house and a mortgage, and I thought, like my decisions matter, like in a very big way. And the stress is really heavy, especially when I wasn't really prepared for it to grow this fast. And we were filming a pilot for a TV show that ABC Family wanted for our company called 7 Days of Change. And it was going to be like Extreme Home Makeover Cause Edition. I mean, it was a super complex, very expensive pilot to film. And I called down a company from Bend called Rage, from a friend, Sky Pinnock, who maybe some of you guys probably know him. And we filmed this pilot, and he said, hey, you need to come up to Bend to edit. And I get off the plane in Redmond, and I'm like, okay, so I look at these beautiful mountains. I come into town, and within like 45 minutes, I'm like, all right, I got to live here at some point. Told my wife, I'm like, babe, Bend. She's like, what's Bend? I'm like, it's a city in the middle of Oregon. So that's kind of how the beginning started. But I came back and I really hit a pretty serious wall. I started having anxiety and panic attacks, insomnia, just from the stress and the pressure. And you know, this is like a real thing. I thought, man, like I can't stop, because people think that I guess employees often think that, oh, the CEO or the owner has the most freedom, right? No, right? Like we know if you're a business owner, like I have the least freedom, right? Like I didn't take a vacation for like 3 years. I didn't take a day off really. My mind is like constantly going. And it got bad to the point where I wasn't sleeping for a long time. I got stuck on Ambien for months on end. And it's this cycle that I think a lot of people get stuck in because they can't stop. And my wife actually hit it too, because she saw me freaking out. She started having panic attacks. There was literally a night that I remember that I was coaching my wife through like suicidal thoughts while I was fighting and having a panic attack. I mean, it was like the realest it could get, right? And I know it was crazy. So I thought this is just not good. And for our life, and we had this dream of like moving to a simpler life, right? We thought, oh man, like we were thinking about Idaho, we were talking about Oregon, we were thinking, oh, one of these days when we sell the company, we're gonna go and we're gonna buy a farm, right? And like we literally, like our screensavers on our, everything in the house is like, look at this life that we will have at some point. And, hold on, I'm trying to make sure I'm not skipping anything I wanna say here. On the top of this growth, we realized that on October 10th, 2013, Facebook decided to make a really big change. I don't know if you guys remember this, where your organic reach was no longer your reach for Facebook, right? And for big e-commerce companies, this really hit them hard. We lost about $2 million in 120 days. And it was ultimately my fault because I didn't diversify a lot of our income outside of Facebook. And I thought, wow, like, whew, now I'm already having panic attacks, right? And then this happens, right? So I have a board meeting and my investors are freaking out. They're thinking, hey, what's going on? Like, you need to fix this. And at that point I said, I just got to step down. Like, I can't, like, it's a bad time for me. It's hard for me right now. And they were, I think, going down that road too, because they saw me like getting really pressured. And I think this is the story that a lot of people don't share, right? It's a story that nobody wants to talk about, but I think it's a very real story. I have another friend who's 27. He runs a company called Teespring that's doing $64 million a year right now. And he's having the same thing. I mean, it's a very real thing. These VC, like fast growth San Francisco, Silicon Valley entrepreneurs, like it's not all fun and games, right? It's real stuff with real money, with real serious consequences when you fail. And so I stepped out of the role, but still continued to cast vision. So I stayed in the company and just made sure that like I took my CFO who said, hey, I'd love to step in. But started making some different decisions that I wouldn't have made. And it was hard to like kind of watch my baby not die, but just change in a way that maybe I wouldn't have done that, which is a really hard thing for a guy like me to do. And at this point, I started talking to my wife. I said, we gotta sell the stock just because otherwise I can't handle this anymore. Like it's too hard for me to watch this change. And we needed change. We needed to figure out something. So in April 2014, the disagreements between me and some of the investors just got to the point where I said, okay, like let's just figure a way out. And they purchased my stock, which is great. They found another buyer. They're growing the company. I still own 5%. We kept all the relationships intact. Like this is the best part, which is really difficult to do. And that's actually like the founding of, I'll show you. The founding of me writing this book. I'm going to give 2 copies away tonight. People Over Profit. And it really, I learned those lessons in that time. And the 3 lessons that I learned, I mean, as I said, this was a difficult time. I mean, I spent time like crying over this. This was a heavy, heavy moment. I learned that not everybody's meant to have a partner. And I'll never probably partner with anybody on my main thing ever again. And I think that a lot of entrepreneurs need to think about that. Sometimes we say, we can't do this on our own, so we need to have a partner. It's an insecurity as an entrepreneur, and I did it a lot with my past businesses. I had partners on every business. And when it's your main thing for both parties, it's really delicate. I mean, I'm trying to be good at husband in one marriage. Like, I don't want to figure out how to be a good partner in another marriage, right? Like, this is a hard thing. And it takes like that level of intentionality to make that partnership work. I mean, it's literally a marriage, especially when you're starting to build a company in the multi-million-dollar range. I learned that like to never burn bridges. I mean, because it's likely that you're going to need them again. And the relationships that I built at Sevenly, I still use today. Like I talked to the chairman of the board yesterday, and I think that's a lesson is that we need to just focus that, remember that people have intrinsic value, and that at the end of the day, like the people that say it's just business, not personal, those people are the most ruthless, dangerous people you could ever meet, you know? It's like, what do you mean it's not personal? Of course, everything's personal. So I've really tried to make sure that I walked this whole exit with honor and kept a good name through it. And I think that that's something that that was very encouraged by a couple mentors of mine that I didn't even understand at the time. And now, even just a year later, understanding the beauty in that and the wisdom in that was changed the trajectory of my life. And that people are always more valuable than profit, right? Companies, as CEOs, this book's not called People Instead of Profit, right? It's called People Over Profit. We value people over profit. And it's my belief that those companies that can do that are actually more profitable because of it. And we sold our house in Orange County. And within 45 days, we moved to Bend. Within 90 days, we bought a 7-acre farm. And we kind of started chasing our dream. We're building a house right now. And with our little baby daughter, which is such an exciting experience. And I found myself again, though, like at this serial entrepreneur, dilemma where I'm like unemployed and, and trying to figure out what's next. And I was blogging and consulting because that was kind of like my transition work. And again, making great money. I actually posted my income publicly. I still do. And I have blogs that I write about my income reports and was making $50,000 a month. And it was great, but I hated it. I thought I need to figure out how to have more purpose again, and what does that look like? And a friend of mine once told me, he said, Dale, I think you've got so much experience before 30. It's incredible that I think that it's time for you to maybe guide some people. And I've always felt insecure about that, about giving a lot of business advice while I was pretty young. I turned 30 in 2 weeks. So I started a company called startupcamp.com. I just launched it 2.5 or 3 months ago now. And it's a 12-month coaching course that teaches people how to start their own business. So if you have a business idea but don't know where to begin, which is, I'll say, a giant community today. Entrepreneurship is becoming one of the hottest trends, fads in the world. Nobody wants to work for anybody else, which is hard as an entrepreneur because you need employees, right? You're thinking like every time you hire someone, they're like, man, they're going to leave me and start something else, right? So I built this coaching program with 12 videos, 30-minute videos, and really well done. I really put my heart into it, and study guides and checklists and PDF packs and interviews and articles and everything I possibly could know, learn, suck up, and curate about how to start a great business. And we launched that December 26th. So I guess, about 3 months. And we now have about almost 300 people paying $99 a month for the course. It's been the easiest thing I've ever marketed in my life, which is great because I thought it was going to be very difficult. And it's been a really fun thing to start teaching more. I'm speaking a lot and obviously writing. But the one thing I want you guys to remember is that this isn't rehearsal. The life that you're living right now, this is it. I realized I'm 30 and these are the years of my life coming up that are the most important of my life. When I watch my kids, my babies become little kids and my little kids become, teens. And that time frame, this isn't rehearsal. Create the life that you want. You're responsible for that. And I see too many people that just forget that. They die with their dreams inside them, and it's sad to me. And another quote that I wrote down is, it's not your opinions that change your life, it's your actions. And I've always been the guy that says, I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it, and I get it done. And people always look at me like, how do you do that? I'm like, I just do it. I just actually take the steps to do it. And so if there's anything in the room, anybody in the room that has something that you want to do, you want to start something new, you want to change your career, you're not happy where you're at, just do it. I mean, just make that change slow and subtle every day. I think that because this isn't rehearsal, like I said. And my goal here in Bend is I love Bend. It's the first city that I've been in that I thought, I want to make this place better. I want to curate it. I've been meeting with every possible leader I can to understand the intricacies of the city, the history of the city, figuring out what the future is going to be of the city. And it's been just such a great experience to be a part of a community that's not like LA, where you're like, oh, I'm going to try to make an impact in LA. I'll be right back, I'm like, I think the total population of LA is the total population of the whole state of Oregon. So I want to give away 2 copies of the book, and I want to give some questions to get these away, and they're really serious questions. In the movie Back to the Future 2, okay, can you name Dr. Emmett Brown's dog? Someone raise their hand. Okay, boom. This is you. Okay, and then another very serious. Oh, here, you know what? It actually comes in this really cool bag that says how you make employees feel about themselves says a lot about your business. Okay, and then the next question, another serious question, is in Karate Kid 3, which business did Mr. Miyagi start? What kind of business? Bam! All right, look at this guy. I knew that like older millennials we'd be like hitting hard here. So thanks for having me. I'd love to answer any questions that you guys might have.
Questions? Yes.
You mentioned that you had some mentors. Yeah. Where did you meet those mentors? How did you meet them?
So you mentioned you have had some mentors. Where did you meet those mentors?
You know, I think that people often search for mentors, which is it's a hard thing to do. It's kind of got to be very organic for it to be real. And I have people write me, younger people write me, and they say, hey, you know, would you mentor me? I'm like, I don't even know you, right? Like, it's a weird thing. And so I think that, at first it happens organically in your own community. And I think oftentimes mentors have an eye to find the mentee, I guess. So I was just very driven, and I had met a guy named TK who owned a pretty large company that was doing maybe 20 million a year, and he saw, I think, himself in me, and I think that's what happens typically, and I think that's the best mentor-mentee relationship, is that when you go, that was me 20 years ago, and you know, he has solved many of the problems that I struggle with, many of the personal problems, and so he walked with me in a very intimate, very vulnerable, very real way. Which was the best type of mentorship. I don't think that we all need just these business mentors that just tell us the next strategy on Facebook. I think that what you need is someone to say, hey man, you got a booger on your face, you know? Because nobody ever wants to tell the guy that, bro, you got a booger on your face, right? It's so awkward, right? But someone that you can trust that can say, hey man, like, you know, you hurt people. Like, those words you say, you hurt people. Like, you need to fix that about yourself or you're not going to get to the next level. And so I had someone that could be real with me, and that was probably the greatest thing for my trajectory of success, for sure.
Other questions? Aaron? When's Blake going to come to Bend? Blake Mykoski.
So, you know, Blake sold half of Tom's a couple months ago for $350 million. And he has a new baby. And I've been trying to convince him that, like, life ends in Bend for you, my friend. So he's the kind of guy at this point where he's got to actually buy houses to not give the government money. And so I'm trying to convince him to come here and buy like a giant farm or something. Yeah, soon, hopefully. I'm working on it. I'm actually working on a lot of great people to migrate, and especially this guy right here in the back in the blue shirt. He's one of the best motion graphic artists in the world, and I've been convincing him for weeks.
One last question, yeah. How do you audit yourself?
I'm actually not that good at that. I often push myself pretty far beyond what I should, and I think it's still a thing that I'm learning to walk in. And I'll tell you, the first sign of no sleep for me is a really good metric that says, this is it. Like, you are working way too much. Also, probably like many of you, I have acid reflux. And when it gets bad, I go, man, I'm working too much, you know? And so I'm like learning these symptoms that of my body that I'm like listening to. And Ben was this reason to say, hey, like, I need to start exercising more. And if I'm around a bunch of people that love exercising, maybe I'll do it more. And I did an 18-mile bike ride last summer, which is probably not that intense for some of you, but really intense for me. I did like Sun River to Bend. They were like, come on, let's go. I almost died. So, yeah, it was pretty tense. I wanted to get your question because you asked a couple times.
I was going to say, how's farm life going?
You know, well, we're not fully farming yet, right? So, but it's funny because I'm a creative entrepreneur that just wants to wear jeans and drive a truck. It's a weird thing, and I just want a simple life. And it took me making great money to learn that I didn't need the money, which sucks. I wish that I didn't have to say that. I wish that I knew that before. But we're really excited to. The vision is to be able to sit back in the backyard on the deck and watch the kids run around and watch the sunset. I mean, that's what I'm working for, you know? Like those are the things that matter to me now. And so that's farm life's on its way. This summer, we move in like the end of May. So, thanks.
So Ford F-150, Toyota Tundra, Ram.
I already have a Ford F-150. I have a Ford F-150. That was, and we sold our hybrid and bought a Ford.
I have a little gift for you, Dale. This is a gift that we give to every keynote speaker. It is a tankard. And anytime you come to PubTalk, you bring that, and they will fill it up for you.
I saw someone else drinking one of these over here. There you go.
Hey, yeah, Gator always been.
Huge glass, man.
Yeah, so thank you so much. Really appreciate. Thank you. Yeah. Oh yeah, the selfie. Yeah. Please pause for technical difficulties.
This is awkward, right? I saw you do this last
Get
time.
on this side.
All right. You ready? All right.
Okay.
All right. Complete.
Okay.